Welcome to the pod. You are listening to What the Reality with me, Cashay Roberts, and we're talking about everything for Toxic Tuesday. We're talking about Brahma Newport being spotted out with Rihanna and Julia Fox. Also talking about Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker's latest divorce rumors and separation. You know, he got kicked out the house, all that stuff. I'm also going to talk about the Valley Persian Style. I'm touching a little bit on Summer House because Loverboy apparently is in debt. And of course, we are talking about Real Housewives of Potomac. That part one reunion was everything and amazing. Welcome to the pod. You are listening to What the Reality with me, Cashay Roberts, and we are back with another Toxic Tuesday episode. How are you guys doing? I just watched that Real Housewives of Potomac reunion part one. It was good. I saw a tweet. It's already so much better than the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion. Like, because we just have so much stuff to address. We got some reality topics. First of all, you guys know I'm on my book journey. I just wanted to shout out this new book I've been reading. Spoiler alert, there is like DV relationships illustrated throughout the book, but it is a romance novel. It's by Kandi Burruss. It's called The Long Shot. I don't know why I have this weird obsession with like sports romance suddenly, but like that is a really good sports romance book. As you guys know, I finished the Windy City series, and I have finished the Windy City series, and I was like longing for the next book. The next book comes out March 3rd, which I'm going to pre-order. But I was like, I'm not going to find any other books that are going to be nearly as good. And I started Long Shot by Kandi Burruss, which is Black owned. Hello, Black History Month. And it is really good. So this is actually a series as well that I started. I started on the right one. So it goes Long Shot, Block Shot, and then there's something after it, but it's a 3-book series. And then I also got another book by her, and it's Real. And I think that's also part of the series. So I'm going to be reading some Kandi Burruss books right now. The girls love her on TikTok, and period, it is really good. I also have been watching America's Next Top Model. When you're hearing this, the documentary will have been out. The documentary came out February 16th. So I'm doing a deep dive on America's Next Top Model. That's why I'm currently like binging it, watching it, obsessed with it right now. I'm doing a deep dive, but I'm doing 2 parts because the first part, we're going to talk about America's Next Top Model as it is, like, you know, all of that stuff and the criticism it received in today's time. I feel like mostly, I mean, it did receive some criticism back then with some of the stuff they were pulling, but mostly today, like, people are like, that would not fly, and they're like critiquing how Tyra Banks was, a lot of stuff. Part 2, I'm going to dig deep into the documentary that did just come out and, you know, the biggest revelations from the documentary. And then also her recent announcement about, you know, America's Next Top Model returning for cycle 25, which she did announce. So Miss Tyra Banks will be busy in the upcoming seasons. I don't know what that cast is going to look like. Maybe we're going to get more revelations as it comes out. So yes, look forward to a What's the Reality this Friday. But let's get into these reality topics because we do have some, but I really want to get into the reality TV. So I want to talk about that Potomac reunion. I want to talk about the Valley Persian Style. I want to talk about Summer House. And I want to talk a little bit about Married to Medicine. I'm really going into depth though today for Real Housewives of Potomac reunion. So giddy up, okay? I think this episode today is going to be probably like I think it's gonna be like hour 15, maybe hour 20. I don't know if I'm gonna make 90 minutes today, but period, you are in for something. So in terms of the reality topics, Stephanie Pratt is somebody that just comes in and out of the news every once in a while. Like, I just feel like she always has something to say, and it's so random and it's so unnecessary, so unneeded. So she randomly tweeted this past weekend. She's like, almost forgot how it all started. He's the one who got me hooked on hardcore drugs at 15. I've kept this all a secret for years. He also had a hidden drug addiction. Now, do you get he shouldn't be running LA. Thank you. Amen. I don't know. At least he's not a felon. That is the limit, right? That's the limit these days. If you guys watch Married to Medicine, that is what Dr. Heavenly said. She said, I ain't a felon. I mean, there's been worse. I don't know. I feel like it would be comical to watch Spencer Pratt be the mayor of LA and then Heidi Montag, the first lady of LA. I just think that is something that we need to see. And I'm kind of here for it. But Stephanie Pratt, like, I don't think she's a credible source. I don't really take anything she says serious because of her substance addiction issues in the past, but then also because she's just not trusted. If you guys haven't, make sure you listen to The Hills deep dive. I don't like Stephanie Pratt. I think she is loony. And then I also talked about her freaking weird interview call with Kelly Cutrone. Kelly Cutrone's like, girl, you did not work for People's Revolution. Like, Stephanie Pratt doesn't get a lot of stuff, a lot of concepts. I think she's like so like early 2K. And like, I think she's always trying to like, she had her 15 minutes of fame and she's always trying to regain her 15 minutes of fame. And it's like never going to happen. I think she's honestly kind of a loser. And it just is so weird that she would bring this up out of nowhere. But yeah, I'm not a fan of Stephanie Pratt. I think she threw Spencer and Heidi under the bus for Lauren Conrad's friendship very easily. Honestly, it's like you went from one ship to the other. And yeah, Stephanie Pratt, she doesn't believe her brother should be running for mayor. But I'm also like, girl, aren't you in London or something? Like, I don't even think you're in LA. So like, I don't know. Clearly, they have a serious family issues, though. They have some serious family issues. She's alleging that he's the one that got her hooked on drugs at such a young age. So, I don't know. Bronwyn Newport might be that girl, and I think the girls are matched. She may be the one that is living a very different life than the rest of the cast. She was spotted out with Rihanna. I don't know if they were getting dinner or drinks, like they were coming out from somewhere. They were spotted together, and we do know Rihanna loves Salt Lake City. She loves a couple of the Housewives shows, and I'm pretty sure she likes Bronwyn. And then there was another photo of Bronwyn Newport spotted with Julia Fox this past weekend as well at the Christian Serrano fashion show for New York. So I'm like, I think Bronwyn may be who Lisa thinks she is. Hey, Bronwyn is up. I don't know if I mentioned this on the last Toxic Tuesday, but Bronwyn was spotted with like this young hot model. I mean, he's not like, I mean, he's younger than Todd because who was Todd? But he's like 35, I think. He's like a model, and they're saying that they're apparently dating. I mean, that was very fast. There was also rumors that Bronwyn's not returning to Salt Lake City. I think she is 110% returning to Salt Lake City, especially so we can document the end of that, whatever relationship she was in for a decade, which I cannot imagine her being in a relationship with Todd before being on the show. I just can't imagine. I never saw their chemistry or anything. He was clearly uncomfortable with her doing the show, but that's that. And then we have some other big news that kind of happened this weekend. Actually, this happened on Friday. TMZ is reporting that Kandi Burruss actually, was slamming Todd Tucker for living in her house rent-free. This is honestly gonna leave me to say something really quick about Summer House. I'm gonna launch into Summer House really quick after this, and then I'm gonna get back to the reality topics, because I was really like, I was talking about this with a couple of my coworkers, and I was just like, I hope Amanda and Kyle's relationship is peaceful, like the divorce or whatever. I'm trying to like get this story up. And I was like, a prime example is like Kandi and Todd, they split amicably, but obviously it wasn't amicable. Like, I don't know if I ever really believe a split for that long is amicable. Like, and I compare this to Kyle and Amanda. They were together for a decade, and I'm pretty sure Kandi and Todd were together for a decade. When you're together for that long, I don't know if a split is ever really amicable. And I say that because Kandi apparently blasted Todd for living in her guest house rent-free. So she kicked him out of the main house, and now he is living in the guest house, which is far better arrangements than freaking Ralph has with Drew Sidora. But I'm just saying, like, she had said initially when she was announcing the divorce through People magazine that she was like, this was an amicable split. We're hoping everything can go smoothly. And we've already kind of seen Their stuff has been in the press. He was trying to challenge her on custody of the kids. He was like, I should have custody. You don't be around. You're traveling. You're working a lot. And then she's saying, well, you don't even contribute money wise. I pay for everything. And I hate that Mama Joyce was correct, because I don't like Mama Joyce. I think there's something very like senile and just like very horrible about her. I was trying to find a better synonym, but I just don't trust Mama Joyce. However, she was right about this, and I hate that she was. Todd is an opportunist, and I was saying that, to be honest, but I wasn't saying it in a way of like, oh, Mama Joyce is correct, but I was like, I could kind of see him definitely being an opportunist, right? Either way, Kandi Burruss, this is being reported by TMZ, but to be honest, it was updated. So let me go to the updated one, because he has responded to the claims about that. We got something else to briefly talk about with TMZ, because why is TMZ getting all of these notes from Nancy Gerthy's alleged mom's kidnapper? I don't understand why they're getting all of these notes of like, you have X amount of time. I haven't really talked about that. We'll talk about that really briefly. Let me go to an updated, because I think Todd said he was living in the guest house because she kicked him out of the main house. So this is just honestly, it's really, so this was the court claims. I don't know if I want to use not Cleveland.com reporting on it. It must be a slow day. It must be a slow day. Okay. I have the updated one. So Kandi Burruss ex Todd Tucker calls out Real Housewives of Atlanta star for kicking him out of the house. So we already know she put him on blast. So Todd filed court docs responding to Kandi's claim that he was essentially squatting in the guest home. So this is court claims. She didn't go on social media. However, he did go on social media because men will be men. In his filing, Todd admitted he was living in the guest house. I mean, dang, every time I try to read, there's a stupid ad. Okay, and so he admitted he was, but he said it was because Kandi, guys, every single time I try to read, there's a new ad that pops up. This is with TMZ, okay? They need the money if there's this many ads. Because he said it was because of Kandi or unilaterally removed. Is that how you say that? She basically removed him from the main home by directing her family members to relocate his stuff without his consent and without court intervention. Todd said he did not voluntarily leave the home, but did not fight Kandi about it in order to preserve peace and stability. Todd says Kandi has been in New York working on a Broadway project while he has been in Georgia caring for the kids. Kandi slammed Todd, claiming he wasn't paying a dime in rent or any bills connected to the property. She also asserts he hasn't helped with bills related to the kids, Ace and Blaze specifically. She said she covered all expenses for 2 birthday parties thrown since the couple split late last year, which we did see him attending there. Todd alleged before they split that they both added money into a bank account to use for expenses. He claims after the separation, Kandi told him she would stop using the account and would pay all the bills herself. And he enjoyed that. He was like, oh, period. TMZ, I don't know what's going on, but like normally I never have issues like viewing this stuff. Okay, he says Kandi has been making nasty statements against him in an effort to shift the focus away from her extended and ongoing physical absence from the kids and her reliance on a third-party caregiver. Todd says the judge should give him primary legal and physical custody on a temporary basis until a permanent parenting arrangement is put in place. And then I'm pretty sure he was seeking spousal support as well. So this is basically his angle. He's trying to paint Kandi out in a negative light, saying she's never there for the kids, she's working. And I'm not gonna lie. We have seen that through Real Housewives of Atlanta. That has been her storyline, is like, and that's even what Riley brought up. She was like, why are you about to have more children and you're not even here for me? And it's no shade, no tea. It's just like, why are you about to raise young kids when you are a worker? You are a hustler. And we love that about Kandi. But somebody needs to be there consistently. So I will say that with Todd. Does he need primary custody? No, they should do split. They should do shared custody. But I do think when the kids are that young, they're not all Riley's age. There should be someone consistent in the home running things. That's just my opinion. I don't think Kandi should slow down, but she should prepare for an ugly divorce. There's not going to be anything amicable about it. Todd wants money and he wants to paint you out as a ill-fit mother. There's no question about it. Moving to Summer House briefly, and this is all I'm going to say about Summer House today in this episode. If you guys didn't watch, Kyle is clearly in debt with Loverboy. He had to give in $500K. He had to take himself off his salary. And Amanda went on Watch Women's Live and said she said that is his baby. I'm not going to fight him or nothing. Multiple people, including Andy and Sierra, can argue that you actually did put a lot in. It was actually your parents that gave him a loan to start up Loverboy. And then also you created the logo. I mean, the first thing you see. So she's kind of shooting herself in her foot, but I do think it's strategic for Amanda. Amanda and Kyle are Leos. Do with that what you will. I'm a Leo. Lindsay Hubbard's a Leo. A lot of Leos in Summer House. I don't think Amanda wants anything to do with Loverboy because it's not successful. If they would have sold it a couple years ago, did the Bethany Frankel, skinny girl style and sold it for more money, I do think she probably would want a piece of it. Because it is a sinking ship, I don't think she wants a piece of it. And my thing is, their divorce may seem amicable right now, or their separation, but when you start getting into that legal stuff and he start looking about how much in debt he is with Loverboy, or he's not really seeing a ROI, which is a return on his investment with Loverboy, I do wonder how much of that he is going to want to split and potentially give to Amanda. And he's like, I can't be liable for all this. People play dirty when they're going through divorce. And that's what I was saying. I was talking about this with somebody. They're like, oh, I don't think they're going to have an ugly divorce. People were saying we didn't think Kandi and Todd were going to have an ugly divorce. It is heading in that direction. I think something with Loverboy and Amanda. And they don't have a prenup. I hope Amanda's good. And I hope Kyle don't do her dirty. But I'm not shocked. When people go through divorces, you learn some things. And I just wouldn't be shocked if Kyle is like, hey, I don't want to be liable for all of this debt. And she's like, well, I don't want to be liable for it at all. It's your baby. And he's like, yeah, but. And then he tries to leave her with the bill. I don't think Loverboy is doing well. That's all I'm going to say with that. Obviously, Summer House, amazing episode. Now I'm warming up to it. It was like the second episode. Amanda is being a little overly bitchy. Let's just call it what it is. Because she's checked out. She's mentally and physically checked out of the relationship. And Kyle is a victim. He's using this opportunity to showcase, you see how much I try, and she's just disinterested. Homeboy, you've been traveling for the past 2-3 months on your DJ career, which we found out the reason he has to DJ is because he needs to make some money. Loverboy ain't. It's not splitting the bill. He's not being able to foot the bill. He only films for summer. I don't know all the debts he is in, but $500,000 into Loverboy and then taking yourself off a salary. Oh, I know you're in debt. And then I know he's getting paid by Bravo quite a lot. He's probably getting paid a lot to DJ. But my thing is like, at what point do your morals and values why are you DJing at college campuses or off college campuses? I think there has to be a line. Like, I don't think anyone in Bravo universe has been DJing. Like, he was DJing down at University of Pittsburgh. Like, Kyle is definitely having he's definitely having a midlife crisis about that time. But I do think Amanda is being overly bitchy. I do think two things can be true. It's like, I'm always seeing her that way, and people are like shocked and gagged that they're seeing her this way. I'm like, she's always been over it. I just think this season she's definitely over his stuff and his crap. I just think she's really over it. So yeah, the episodes, because this is such a new group of people, I do feel like it can become very uncomfortable if I was there just meeting them and it's like all you guys are doing is arguing. There's no on and off button. Kyle was trying to apologize to his wife or about him and his wife's like behavior in front of the group, and it just didn't read because it's like it didn't read to me. So I would have honestly been pissed off as Amanda as well, because I'm like, dude, you haven't even talked to me. He said sorry on Sunday, but I'm just like, it's performative. So when I say that they're both Leos, I know because I'm a Leo, they act really like Leos. And I've been on Amanda's side, but I've just been super bitchy. I'm just like over everything. And I'm also, I'm not going to say I'm manipulative. Who's going to admit they're manipulative? You know what I mean? But Kyle, I think Kyle is a male Leo. I'll leave it at that, because I don't think women Leos subscribe to his BS. But that's why I always relate to Amanda, even though I don't like it. You know, when you see something and it's like you don't like it, but you can relate to it. It's so crazy because like Kandi Burruss is a Taurus. My mom's a Taurus. My mom disliked Kandi Burruss for the longest. I'm like, Mom, you act just like her. And it wasn't just until recently when Kandi Burruss was off of Housewives and my mom see what Kandi Burruss is doing. She's like, you know what? I do like Kandi Burruss. Like, she's about her money. She's about her kids. I'm like, Mom, I've always said you are literally Kandi Burruss. And it's just like so funny to me how it's like it took Kandi Burruss being off of Housewives for my mom to finally realize. So it's like we never really like the people that we see on reality TV, because in some way like we relate to them, especially if they're our same sign. You know what I mean? But it just makes sense to me. It makes sense to me how Amanda's acting, and knowing what I know about male Leos or just men in general, and sprinkle that with a little, narcissism, because Leos are narcissists, like, but not to an insane amount. But I'm just saying, you get Kyle Cook, and he's just very good. He has a very high strung victim complex. It's like his way or no way. And I think he's being very manipulative in his apologies, but I hope their relationship, divorce, don't end up that way. It might be smooth sailing now, but I always feel like there's a other end, and it's giving me Kandi and Todd. Like, it's like, oh, we're gonna be fine, and it's like, no, we're not. Like, no, we're not. Okay, other news. So Jill Zarin has been fired. This is an update from last Toxic Tuesday. I talked about the Super Bowl performance, Bad Bunny's iconic Super Bowl performance. Beyonce was showing it love recently in these pictures with a bob. What's wrong with a bob? Nothing. She looked amazing, and she had the Puerto Rico flag. But Jill Zarin went on a rant for whatever reason. And I'm just like, to get up on your crumbled legs and cellulite and sit and plop your phone with your face that does not move, as you talk about Lady Gaga's, who talking about how she got a facelift, you didn't even recognize her, but we really don't recognize you. Like, your face looks crazy. To plop up your phone and record a 60, 90-second video about why you dislike the Super Bowl, and then the question, where are the white people? I would be like, girl, they are outside. There is no shortage of white people, but I'll tell you what, there's a shortage of black people, and there's a shortage of Puerto Rican, brown, Latino people. There's a shortage of them. If you're looking for the white people, go outside. You live in Florida. There's plenty. There's not a shortage of white people. So for her to get up and make that video as you just signed a deal with E, I don't even know what's going to happen with the show. It seems like a mess. And I don't like the title Golden Life. It seems like, I just don't understand why they're calling it Golden Life. It seems very outdated for what it is. I mean, I guess they are in their golden life, but you are the one that got that deal together, apparently. And this is the third time now you have shot yourself in the foot with a deal you brought together, because you just can't shut up. Okay, you want to be racist, be racist. But why do people, I just never, and I understand why now it's so like everybody want to be racist, because it's like, obviously we have this Trump in office, so it's like it's okay to be racist now. But it's like we went through a period before when it was not okay to be racist and like just say certain stuff. People have their views, but it's just like you don't have to bring everything to social media. And I think that's Jill Zarin's biggest issue. Aside from that, Jill Zarin, so she's been fired, and apparently she's being replaced by Dorinda. But I don't know how much leg room this show has. Like, I don't think it has a leg to stand on, if I'm being honest. It just seems a mess. Um and then I didn't even talk about it on my Toxic Tuesday, or maybe I did last week, but apparently Bethany Frankel also posted a video and then she took it down. I had only seen her second video. I didn't see her first video. So she was also someone that was very critical. She was very much critiquing Bad Bunny and big corporations, saying, where do we draw the line with political stances? But then she took that down and reposted something that was more fitting for her audience and, for who you would think Bethany Frankel is, whatever that is. Anyway, they're saying Dorinda is going to be replacing her, but I don't know if Dorinda is going to be full-time. I still am shocked that this is happening separate. So Versant Media is the new parent of E, and they must still be like sisters with NBC Universal, because I cannot imagine Bravo really signing off, especially when Dorinda, Sonia, and Luann have been on Watch Women's Live recently. They're actively still in a part of the Bravo world, in my opinion. So I don't know. Now there is this Reddit thread that is being brought around on social media, and it is Jill Zarin's step grandson, and he is basically giving the tea. So this is from New York. He said, this is titled, "I'm Jill Zarin's step grandson." He's basically talking about the will with the Bobby's thing. He's confirmed that she did call Bravo cameras for Bobby's funeral, and he's just saying that he never liked her. So he said, "I'm willing to confirm with the moderators if necessary." I also made another post on Roni, so if I don't answer a question, that's why. If you're a member of one of the media, feel free to DM me, because I don't think anyone else in my family really wants to give a statement out of fear that she'll do something, i.e. defamation lawsuit. So sorry if I'm conservative with my replies. I'm also the one who made the picture of her face with an X on it on the Zarin Fabrics Instagram. Edit, genuinely not sure what proof you guys want. Here's a video of my eulogy from my grandpa's funeral. Don't think it has been posted anywhere. So his grandfather is Bobby. Also, me and my siblings appreciate all your positive comments about Bobby. His grandfather is Bobby. So, and obviously Jill married into that family. So that's why I said he's her step grandson. So yeah, there's like a bunch of threads essentially saying that she was the one that kind of, like, the will was kind of weird. He said, "Thanks for coming to my AMA and all your kind words. Bobby did not cut Jill out of the will. Changes were somehow made while he was on fentanyl patches on his deathbed to the detriment of his children." Okay. So apparently, and then also the Jill Fabrics, apparently, or the Zarin Fabrics, they made it known that Jill is not associated with them. So I'm just trying to see. Yeah. They posted this picture, if you're watching me on YouTube, with a face on it. It says, "Zarin Fabrics stand firmly against racism, discrimination, and rhetoric that seeks to exclude or diminish people based on identity, culture, or background. Yada, yada, yada. Zarin Fabrics is built on creativity, collaboration, and respect for the diverse communities." So that was going around. But even her daughter said she liked it. There was something. Okay, maybe I found the original. I don't know where his original stuff is, because he was saying like the will was edited weirdly and how no one in their family could stand Jill. Cameras were brought. I guess that's what he was confirming. I was just trying to find his legit comments, but he basically spilled the tea. There are a bunch of Reddits with him. Well, there's two that are officially like from his, but yeah. E made the decision to fire Jill based on that video. They were just like, it's not the direction we're trying to move in. So that's the update on that. And speaking of just the firings and stuff, unrelated, but Portia is dating this swaggy girl, or I can't remember her name. And I'm just curious, is Bravo Love Hotel still happening? Because I feel like it's not happening because Portia was on the lineup along with Sonia. And I think it was Heather Gay that they're supposed to be on Bravo's Love Hotel. But it's giving it's not going to happen because, in the words of Lisa Nicole on Married to Medicine, Portia is in a lesbian relationship. Like, in the words, if you guys have not watched Married to Medicine, I don't want to hear anything, but Portia is in a lesbian relationship. So I don't think she can film Bravo's Love Hotel, which is going to have eligible bachelors on there. I don't even know if they're eligible. They're just bachelors. I don't know if it makes sense for her to go on there. And I haven't heard an update at all. But speaking of updates, we did get a little teaser of Real Housewives of Atlanta. So we know that is coming very soon. I want to get into some reality TV. I want to talk about the Valley. I touched on Summer House a little bit in my opinion, but in terms of the Valley, if you guys are not watching it, watch it. I can't keep saying it enough. The Valley Persian Style is so much better than the original Valley, and we got fresh faces. People just like, it's just so much better, and like, I love the Valley Persian Style. Okay, so my issue with MJ is that I understand where her husband Tommy is coming from. Tommy went to jail and had to take anger management classes, which clearly is not working. And he, in efforts of defending his wife, because when her and Reza fell out, it was a bad falling out. He came to their property. He knocked over a couple of plants and stuff. And, he was facing a lot of legal troubles because Reza like filed something against him, and I think he went to jail. He was in a holding cell or something. Like, this is some serious stuff, because when Reza and MJ beef, they beef. Like, they were beefing. He called out how many abortions she had. That's why she can't get pregnant. Like, when they beef, they beef. And then I guess Reza didn't see Shams, her kid, for like 2 years or whatever. Like, her and Reza are on a good page now, but the thing is like Tommy did all that stuff to defend MJ. So it's like I understand that from that perspective. And I don't think it's fair for MJ, now that she has moved on, to expect Tommy to move on. When it's like, I was in jail for this man, and now you telling me you want me to pull up to the function where this man is hosting, when I couldn't. I think what is it called? He definitely went to jail, but he also had, I cannot remember. I just took my gummies, my Let Me Chill gummies. I cannot remember. What is it called when you can't like be within a certain amount of feet with someone? OMG. Let me Google it, because it's like on the tip of my tongue. Let me ask ChatGPT actually, because ChatGPT, what is it called when you can't go within a certain feet of someone? It's like a protective order, right? Restraining order, period. Okay, it's a restraining order. Reza and them filed a restraining order on Tommy. So it's like that restraining order has been dropped, but it's like you want Tommy now to party with them. And also, let's not forget, Tommy from New York. Like, he's from New York, if anything, like Brooklyn, Bronx. Like, he definitely gives me Bronx vibes. Like, he is from New York. So it's like you telling a New York man who defended you, held your honor as any prince would, or knight in shining armor, and now you telling me you cool with this man that literally put me in jail and put a restraining order on me. And I had to deal with the courts and the legal system for like a good 2-3 years. And now y'all are cool and you want me to come around. So I understand where Tommy's coming from. I do think he can deliver his messages better, because he is an angry man. But I think MJ's want and need for returning to reality TV is what harmed her marriage. And I'm going to make a TikTok on that, and I don't give an F. I don't give an F who doesn't like it. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, Tommy's so bad. You knew what you were marrying. She was desperate to get a baby and get married. She knew what she was marrying. We all looked at Tommy like, this is what you... MJ. I don't know. Tommy ain't never offered anything or brought anything to the table, in my opinion. She was desperate to get pregnant and be married. That's what I think. Now that she is back on TV, what did Gigi say? You know a girl is about to, you know somebody's about to break up with someone, they start getting hot. That's what happened with Lenny and Lisa on Real Housewives of Miami. You know, when somebody start losing weight, they getting their surgeries, they fixing this, they getting this done, working out more. They're either in the process of cheating, or they're intending to cheat, or they're intending to leave your butt. I do think MJ coming back also to reality TV, she's like, I got to put my friendship with Reza and Gigi over Tommy, my marriage, because I want to be back on TV. When Shahs of Sunset went off, they were all affected. They did not want to be canceled. So she's like, okay, Tommy, let's just play with the program so we can stay on TV. You know, we don't need this tension. And she likes where she's at with Reza and Gigi. But I don't think she is being fair to her husband. I really don't. And guys, I'm all team girls. I actually hate men. Like, I'm joking. But I'm just saying, like, I'm all team women. But I think MJ's like a walking contradiction. How you going to expect this man to stand up for you, do XYZ? Now, the way he talks to you in front of your kid, that's a whole other story. I'm not talking about that. And why I do think she should leave him. I'm talking about this man defended your honor, got a restraining order, went to jail, had a bunch of lawsuits against him or whatever. And now you want me to be cool with this person that was filing this stuff against me. Not cool. But I think it's because MJ is really thirsty to be back on TV. I mean, she looks good, but I'm just saying I do think she's thirsty. Speaking of thirsty, Sky is thirsty to get an apology, but I don't think she deserves one. Now, what I will say is I did think Tanine did deserve to give her apology for discussing how she felt about the serum rub with Reza and then Reza throwing it in her face. I do think she did deserve to give that girl an apology, because if you guys are friends, as I thought you guys were, you guys be traveling, you be leaving the husbands at home. It was definitely giving like, this is my bestie, right? If you're like that much in tune with somebody, I do think if you're like that close, discussing something that you felt a type of way with, like, it's one thing to vent. Like, we all vent. That's why I'm like, it's whatever. It's like not necessarily shit talking, but it's like you vent, right? To people that you trust. But the fact that Reza used that against her, she should apologize. She's like, I never would have thought in a million years he would have used that against you. In that argument, the argument was between Reza and Sky. And I should have brought up my issues with you, but I'm not going to apologize for venting to a friend that I thought I could trust and that wouldn't throw it in my face. Obviously, Reza apologized for throwing that in her face. He was just upset. He was trying to get some drama going. It is the Valley. But Bajma, and I thought Tanine and Greg weren't going to make it, because I just feel like they're trauma bonded. There's no spark there from what they're both saying. But Greg had his wife's back 10 steps down, like, right? Bajma did not. I don't think he can stand Sky. And we're seeing a lot come out. Sky is a very spoiled, entitled brat. And it's crazy because Tanine confirmed she did not grow up the way she is acting right now. And it's giving, I'm wondering if she's performing for the cameras. Because I think even Tanine is a little thrown off, rubbed off with her behavior on camera. Because she's like, I'm just shocked she's acting this way because XYZ. Like, you can tell Sky is bougie, but her attitude, there's a part of me that does think she's putting it on. And we're seeing cracks. I thought her and Bajmut were going to 100% make it. They've been together for so long. But Sky just looks at him in so disgust. Like, she's upset he didn't stand up for her, which I agree. That is crazy. He did not stand up for her at all. And then it's just crazy to me that he did not stand up like for her at the table at all. That is insane to me. But then also, Bajma said, I've been through some things and you have not been there for me. And I'm like, what has he been through that she hasn't been there? And he was like, you cannot hold a grudge. And you could tell Sky is the type to hold a grudge. So she gonna hold a grudge and let you know how many grudges she got against you. Bajma also lets us know in the rest of the group that she won't be coming around to the group because she feels like she's owed an apology. So she thinks the show can't go on without her. She thinks the stuff. So she's selecting who she films with, basically, because it was a pop-up between her and Tanine. But he said, I have been through some things and you have not been there for me. And I was just like, it was kind of weird. It was just kind of like, ooh, oh, what has he been through? Let's talk about Real Housewives of Potomac, and then we're gonna end on a little bit of Married to Medicine. So Potomac was really good. Like I said, already better than Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but it's not hard because Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, they do not excel when it comes to reunions. It's always doing a lot. Speaking of Salt Lake City, apparently there is a rumor going out that they will not be able to form storylines about what bloggers are saying. That was actually in the recent contracts. Let me show you guys this blind item that was sent in. So it says renewal letters have gone out to the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City ladies. I'm also hearing Brittany possibly isn't coming back, which I would not miss, for season 7. And they include a new mega clause, which is non-negotiable for all new and renewing casts. It's called the narrative integrity clause. Basically, the casts are not allowed to create, influence, or leak storylines about the show or other cast members off camera. Any on-camera discussions, this includes using third parties as a proxy. Any on-camera discussions about unverified activity will be cut from the final edit, and any verified activity is punishable on a scale that includes financial penalties, loss of screen time, demotion, and firing. Production isn't oh, dang, I wasn't expecting that. Production isn't effing around. They're tired of grasping at straws with the brunch, and they need to regain control. The clause has had a mixed reception among the cast. 2 of them are holding out, Whitney and Heather. That's what I'm assuming. On renewing, hoping it will push production to cave. They won't, and they've got a short list of potential new housewives to backfill spots if needed. They're sick of the constant chatter of the blogs. They're sick of it. And like, this is what this blog said, this is what you're telling this blog. Unless you got the proof, we're sick of it. We are sick of it. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of them are scrambling. People that rely on that, I'm sure they're scrambling. Let's talk about Real Housewives of Potomac. Like I said, really good part 1. Coming out the game swinging. Wendy, I do commend Wendy because regardless of what's going on, Wendy showed up. You know, we talk about housewives not showing up. Mary Cosby didn't show up when she was in the thick of it. Lisa Vanderpump didn't show up to the reunion when, her feet were being held to the fire. I mean, that was a terrible season. I understand why she didn't. She had just lost her brother, but she didn't show up. And then I think about who else didn't show up. Karen Huger. She didn't show up to the reunion. I mean, apparently she was in a retreat facility, but I put air quotes around that because was she? I don't know. But then when we talk about people that show up, we talk about Wendy Yosefo. Whether she goes to jail or not, she will be an icon. Probably because she went to jail as a housewife. I mean, the best icons and housewives end up being, apparently, like when you go to jail as a housewife, you come back, you're an icon, right? But Teresa Giudice showed up, when she was in the middle of all that stuff. So there's only a select few that I really feel like show up and they put it all out there and they're like, you know what? This is what it is. And I think Wendy Osefo is one of those people. Regardless if she goes to prison or not, I commend her for showing up because I don't know personally I could show up if I was facing 16 felony charges for fraud. I don't know if I could show up. I really don't. So the cameras are picking back up, which this is what we had seen in the trailer. And it was the question, how do you think this will affect our marriage? And we were assuming because it was of the arrest that was the mid-season. So we were like, oh my gosh, cameras did go back up. So Bravo did bring cameras back up. It was a week later after their arrest. And it was them talking. Wendy looked very tired and defeated. Well, she didn't look tired, but she looked defeated. She looked like she had lost a lot of weight, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, but it was, like I said, being filmed a week later after the arrest. So let's get into how the arrest happened. She talks about it on the couch. But before we get into that, let's talk about the scene at hand. She does ask Eddie, or Eddie's like, he started crying when he was like, it really broke my heart when he heard Cameron on the phone asking where they were. And they were actually with, the kids ended up being with her mom and her sister because they had to pick him up. And apparently they were picked up while the kids weren't home, which is really good. And she's very grateful for that. But let's go back to that question. She was like, how do you think this will affect our marriage? And I don't know if she's soft launching a divorce. I think she loves her husband. I mean, she even said it at the reunion. But I do think Eddie would take one for the team because he loves that woman. I think he would take one for the team and be like, babe, stay home with the kids. I'm going to do my time. And I wonder, take the plea. Hopefully the plea, they take it. Maybe it's 7-8 years. You only got to do, hopefully you can do like a Jen Shah. Maybe you only have to do 3-4. You know, take the plea. Take the plea because you have damning evidence against you. And I will continue to say it. The email is the smoking gun for me when he's like, what else should I add so we can max out our full insurance thing? That is insane to me. And then obviously the suspicion that this robbery didn't even happen. Like, I think they are guilty. Do I want her to be guilty, especially given this season she's had? No. But I don't know. So back on the couch, Wendy, we get into the elephant in the room. I'm like, all right, how long are we going to do this? I'm like, Andy, there's an elephant. And then I think it only took like 5 minutes. He's like, you know what, Wendy, there's an elephant in the room. You and Eddie were arrested. Also, they open up with a montage of like Wendy and all her accomplishments on the show and just like how much she's grown from the first time she appeared on the show, you know? And there's a montage. But then we are like, we got to get into the elephant in the room. So she addresses the situation at hand, which I think she did a phenomenal job of doing. She was like, look, the case is still ongoing. We've had court appearances. And then we get into when it happened. Apparently, she was asleep. You know, she was taking a nap. And I guess Eddie tapped on her shoulder. He's like, babe, the police are here. Thankfully, the kids were not there. I think the kids were at school. So she had to call her mom and sister to pick the kids up. Wendy said she was not high and Eddie was not high. She said she was asleep in her professor wig. That's why the wig was not wigging. Why Giselle has any credibility to ask anyone about wigs when her wig very truly just sits on her head is beyond me. Obviously, we saw the mug shot pics. It was not giving. In terms of Eddie, who I thought was high on his own supply, he was asleep in his holding cell when they tapped him on the shoulder, like, hey, it's time for your mugshot. So that's why his eyes looked red. He was just waking up. And in terms of her grinning, it wasn't like, oh, I'm making fun of this. She said the guy was kind of playing with her. The guy that was taking pictures, he was like, well, you know, like serve a look or something. Like you got to smile, do something. And that's when she grinned. And she said, I think he was just trying to make light of the situation because everything was super heavy. So do the kids know? So Cameron clearly does not know. We know she has the 2 sons. So she talks about Carter. He did know when something happened because they always pick him up from school and he suspected something was wrong. He went to the internet, of course, and I think it was like all over his phone, like all over social media. So she is upset that he did not disclose this with the mom and the aunt, her sister, because I don't know if her mom and sister knew at that point what was going on. She was just like, I need you guys to get the kids. Like, we can't. I just need you to get my kids and they need to spend the night with you. Yada, yada, yada. I don't know if she told them, but apparently Carter had knew. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And he was questioning where they were. And then she was like, we were just gone. Like, they were trying to act normal. And eventually they had to, like, tell him. And so when they go to court and stuff, they do update him. But in terms of Cameron, she does not know. I don't know if the other son knows, but she talked about Carter and Cameron. Giselle then, because I do think Wendy is being very, I hope I'm using the right word, I've been reading a lot, colloquial. She's being very cavalier. Let me see if I use colloquial right. Yeah, I think I used that right. But she is also being very cavalier. She's I understand because something like this did happen. She probably is like, oh my gosh, in her head. But how she comes off is very just like she's telling a story. Like this is something that has happened years ago and she's just telling this story, whatever. Um, is but Giselle asked her, are you okay? And then she's like, no, I'm not okay. She said, I'm absolutely terrified. Okay. Because I was like, girl, I know they're looking forward to their day of justice, but I'm like, normally when people get arrested, they got something on you. They not just arresting folk. I mean, it depends what kind of folk you are. They probably are just arresting the black folks to arrest them. But something like that to that magnitude, it's not a mix up like at all. Like you're typically getting arrested because of something. So that's why I was just kind of like, girl, it's not giving that you have any, not remorse, but it's just like, do you understand what is going on? But she says she's absolutely terrified. But I think for her, it's to be very cavalier and very like, oh, this is unaffecting me. I'm fine, right? I understand that. I can understand that. So moving on, we're gonna obviously get back into that throughout the reunion. But Tia and Stacy get at it, and I originally started off the season liking Tia, but she really has fallen flat for me. I'm just like, what else do you have to offer besides the amazing accent? I don't have an issue with Tia's accent. I like her accent, but apparently Stacy got an issue with her accent, and I just feel like it was like I didn't. If I'm being quite honest, I don't even care to recap their argument. It's about the whole Tiermo thing, and I'll maintain that Stacy did lie. She should have just been real. Like, look, he's uncomfortable. Why are you lying, saying he's out of the country? Look, he's uncomfortable. He don't want to sit down. But it is weird to me how it's like, I understand him being uncomfortable sitting down with Wendy and Eddie, given the whole TJ of it all. But then it's like, she says he showed up to the, it was like their indoor event, the sporting event that was so Five and Below. Like he showed up to that specifically to see Wendy and Eddie and meet them. So I'm like, which one is it? Is he like uncomfortable around them or does he want to meet them? Because it can't be both. Now, is he really out of town or is he just really not trying to kick it with y'all? Because that's okay. Is it too many black people? He's like, you know what? I've hit my cap. I've met enough black people. Let me just go and sit down in Germany. Like, okay, admit it. He's like, I'm just not trying to kick it with these black folks today. And that's okay. We feel it. But I don't know. I do feel like Stacey got caught up in a lie. And I keep saying Tia was right about that. But Tia, and people say she has this like strong allegiance to Giselle, but I felt like she'd be clocking Giselle in the after show, left and right. Like, I don't think if Giselle was one to play with her, Tia wouldn't be going for it. She's like, you're not about to be playing with me. She's clocked her about her fashions more than once. I don't think that's her master, but I understand what Stacey's saying. But they get into it, and then Tia just says, like, you try to act one way, and then you act a different way. And she says, like, you don't even talk how you normally talk. And then Stacey says, well, you don't really even have an accent. You've been married to someone from Chicago this whole time. And it's like your accent dibbles and dabbles. And it's like, I am always curious about that. Because I'm like, Lisa Vanderpump has maintained her accent. But I also think it's because she married someone that was also English. But then I was always like, I never really bought Brittany Cartwright's still hillbilly accent or like country accent. Because I was just kind of like, girl, you was with Jax Taylor in the Valley in LA. I know that country accent has left you. But I can't stand Britney, so maybe that's why. But Tia, I don't know. I feel like when you have a thick accent like that, like an English, British accent, you don't really leave it. Some days I just want to slip in and start talking British because it's just such a highly favored accent. Like that's one of my favorite accents, like a British, European, like French accent. Like that whole area, I love those accents. But I don't know. They get into it with that and whatever. I was genuinely shocked to see that Giselle congratulated Stacey on making I think it was Vanity Fair's best performances of 2025. And obviously Stacey was on there, and she was like number 15 or something. And she said, in the midst of everything Potomac has been getting news for, and you can tell Giselle holds the show to a high standard. And that is why she did not want Ashley dibbling and dabbling with Mauricio. This is really truly her baby. You know, she has a producer hat on most of the time. You know, she genuinely loves Potomac. That aside, how you feel about Giselle, because I'm not her biggest fan either. She really has a high regard for the show. And I think with all of the negative attention the show is getting, she was definitely afraid that it would have this negative connotation of what Black women are doing in Potomac. I understand that. And I think her congratulating Stacey, she was like, I recognize that we're having people go to prison. So thank the Lord Stacey was in something that was positive for our show, because the show has been in a very criminal light. We talk about Karen Huger going to prison. And then we talk about Wendy, you know, facing 16 felony charges, which is, I'm sorry, it's nothing on... I mean, it is something on DUI. I'm going to retract this statement. It's a DUI, girl, you could be really killing somebody. Fraud, you just scamming the scam, right? So, but I'm just saying 16 felony charges, she's facing a lot of time. And then we forget, I wonder if Annie's going to bring it up. I mean, Mia, she was caught being arrested for stealing furniture out of a fully furnished apartment. So it's like Potomac, there's been 3 women now linked with going to jail. And then I don't know why Ashley chose that moment to kind of make it about herself, how she's terrified of going to jail. It's like, Ashley, just don't do nothing illegal and you shouldn't be going to jail. Right? But she made that about Ashley's just so weird. The bar is low. The bar is low for Ashley. She had a whole like epilogue about how much she's afraid of going to jail. I was just like, okay, so if Ashley is the next person from Potomac to go to jail, you heard it first. You heard it here first, because for some reason Ashley is terrified of going to jail. So Ashley, I hope everything's right in the pudding. But yeah, Giselle was like, with everything going on in Potomac, I'm actually glad Stacey got this. Andy asked Stacey, like, do you consider what you're doing a performance? And she's like, well, it's like my job. It's like QVC. And I think Stacey was kind of like, it is kind of a performance. It's like we all are putting on in some way or capacity. I want to move into Angel. Angel, I think, did a really good job speaking up for herself, though Kay tried to chin check her. I do think Angel did a really good job with trying to clear some things up. They are back and forth between Colorado and Potomac, but they did get a house, and they're working with the same designer they worked with in Colorado for the Potomac home. Ashley thought it was funny to add in there, but how many acres is it? Ashley, you are in an Airbnb Nautico style. I just don't understand why people want to see Ashley back. I'm like, she don't do much. Her dress looked good though. And I'm like, and then Angel clocked her, and I was glad she clocked her. She was like, and how many acres can you afford? And Ashley, she's like, you shouldn't be saying nothing. You don't even live in Potomac. And she's like, but I could if I wanted to. No, you couldn't, Ashley. The money ran low. You couldn't live in Potomac if you wanted to. Not what you're accustomed to. So it's like, why are you worried about how many acres I got? Let's talk about how many acres I have in Colorado. I don't need to have the same amount of acres. I think Angel did a really good job of holding herself accountable, or holding herself. She definitely held herself accountable, and she also did good at like apologizing to the ladies, but also of like expressing her view of things without shaking up, because she does shake up a lot in scene, and it's like you keep talking about stuff, and it's like you should address it then and there. And I think she did a really good job at maintaining that. Besides Kay chin checking her again. Kay did not want Angel extending an apology to Wendy, because Wendy's like, do you see how the whole chin check comment, how your energy was at the one event while we're shopping versus the other one, and then you're throwing it back to me. She said, do you see how that would make me feel kind of like you are switching up? Your energy is different. And Angel was trying to extend an apology, and Kay was like, what is this? Like, she literally chimed in. Kay is such a miserable person because like she's not happy in her love life, and unfortunately she is a woman that genuinely puts a romance over friendships, and not even friendships, but over other amazing things she's doing. Like, she has an amazing career. It seems as though she would have amazing friends. I don't know. But because she's not happy with Greg's decision not to marry her, because he's not going to marry her. If he does marry her, I will be shocked. If he proposes, I will be shocked. I don't think he wants to marry her. I don't think he wants to get married, period. And I think she has to come to terms with, you might not be getting married to this man, period. But she doesn't want to. So she has a very, just dark cloud about her, madness and sadness. And it projects. It's like you don't even want your friend, reconciling with these women in the group. You're the only one that wants to have these friendships in this group. So she kind of cut her off, and it was very weird. It was very weird. Even Wendy pointed out, she's like, what kind of friendship is this? Like, she's trying to talk, and she's like talking over her. It was a very weird interaction. And I agree. It was very like, girl, be quiet. Like, that's how Kay was talking to her. She's like, what are you doing? Why are you apologizing? Yikes. So Angel also admits that she did have more dip on her chip when it came to Wendy, because Wendy pointed out, and I'm glad we're breaking the fourth wall, coming into this group, you saw Giselle as up to here, so you did not want to have any smoke for Giselle, but you wanted to have all the smoke for me. When Giselle now is admitting again, I was the one that called you catfish. And she's like, I just don't understand why you had more energy for me throughout this whole season, when it's like Giselle was really coming for you. Giselle and Ashley were coming for you, and it just seems like you were only coming for me. And Angel admits she did have more dip on her chip with Wendy, and she also apologized. And I'm seeing a path forward for her and Wendy, God willing, if Wendy is around next season. But I'm seeing a path forward, and I don't think Kay's gonna like that, because I think Angel is realizing, she's like, yeah, Wendy's correct. Why was I such a bitch to her when she wasn't even talking crap about me? These other women were. And it's like, you cannot talk about Potomac and not talk about the colorism that is clearly an issue on that show. You came in thinking you were going to be in with the light skins, Giselle and Ashley, and you were going to take your frustration out on Wendy. You was going to let certain stuff slide for them, but then you're going to really stick it to Wendy because she is darker. And it even said as though with me, when she called her lips a-hole lips, I don't know what a-hole lips mean. Besides, when I hear a-hole, I'm assuming you mean monkey, right? A-hole lips and Forrest Whitaker eyes. Or Whittaker eyes. That is such a colorist comment to make. So much, in fact, what does a-hole lips mean? What does it mean? Big lips? I mean, Angel, you got big lips. You don't not look like an animal yourself. Like, I'm just saying, like, that is such a colorist comment to make. So when Wendy said, now, if I said you look like James Earl Jones, which is honestly shocking because I looked him up and she actually does. It is, but it's like, she didn't look like Forrest Whitaker at all. But I could kind of see James Earl Jones. I'm not going to lie. But a-hole lips is such a colorist comment. And that's why I'm like, with Potomac, maybe it's because they're in the DMV, we're the first, no, because Atlanta, there's a lot of HBCUs there. These women, the light-skinned women, there's a clear colorism issue. Wendy's treatment versus you treating Giselle and Ashley, until you started catching on that, wait, Giselle and Ashley are coming for you. A lot. It's not Wendy. It took her a while to catch on to that, and you still had all this heat for Wendy. And I do think that's kind of the underlying issue with Potomac. And then that comment with the a-hole lips, to me, means honestly animalistic. It means monkey. If someone's saying you have a-hole lips, like, I don't know. Is that just me? I don't know. I think that was such a colorist comment to make. But let's move on. I think Angel apologized and was trying to be accountable, and she was doing a good job this reunion, I will say, of delivering her message, taking accountability, and trying to move a path forward. I want to see Angel back. But you know what I will say? I don't need to see Kay back, and I don't need to see Tia back. I don't know if Tia really delivered when I look at this season in general. Tia did not help her with finding the home in Potomac. I was really rooting for Tia, but it kind of fell flat. But I'm hearing she probably won't be back because I think her husband has been dibbling and dabbling with other women, allegedly. That was the blind item that was sent in, apparently. Ashley gets a question about her true nasty spirit and messiness to an extreme this season. Now, she was overly mean to people, including Stacy, Angel, and Wendy, especially with the Zen Wen is in the pen. And Ashley decides to bring on something from 5 years ago that she's apparently been harboring against Wendy about her coming into the group and acting like she's high and almighty, and how she thinks that Wendy came in with a very snooty attitude. That was a lot of Wendy's perception when she first came on. I liked when Wendy first came on. So much so I liked her more back then than I do now, because I do think we've kind of lost the plot a little bit with Wendy. But I liked Wendy when she came on. I was like, period, education. I don't think she was looking down on others. And I do think it's one of those big things, like people's perception of you has nothing to do with you. You feel insecure around me has everything to do with you. I'm not making you feel that way. I'm not going out of my way to make you feel that way, right? So I do agree with Wendy with that. But for her to bring this up from 2020 when Wendy joined is insane to me. I'm just kind of like, so you still mad about that? So Wendy was right. She said, your comments and stuff is because you've been harboring resentment. You still feel a type of way. And she's like, not exactly. But she's saying when you first came on, you did have a almighty attitude. And now basically you're getting what you're getting. And then they get into an argument. Wendy basically says Ashley has no accomplishments. And I mean, besides, getting screwed by a billionaire or a millionaire or a thousandaire and, having 2 kids by him and, being on Potomac Housewives, I don't know what Ashley's accomplishments are. And I say that very loosely about the being screwed thing because I mean, obviously she got 2 kids out of it, like that are lovely, I'm sure. But Ashley, and Carlos King talked about this on his pod, like her biggest flexes is like being on a PJ, having this man buy her this. And it's like, but when you get into your 40s and your 50s, what have you accomplished in your life, for yourself, not just to secure a bag from a man? So I don't think Ashley has accomplishments. And this was a same issue that Candace had brought up, is like, you're upset at my generational wealth and my education and everything that I got going on because you don't have anything that you have accomplished yourself. And Wendy has kind of spun around that same argument. It's like, what accomplishments do you have? And then Ashley thought she did her big one by saying, well, at least I have one Social Security. But I'm like, you still have yet to list your accomplishments in life, right? Non-related to a man, that something a man has done to you. And she, this Twitter are losing it because they're like, oh my gosh, at least she said she has one Social Security number. I mean, it was shade. It was funny. It was like, yikes. But it was like almost like yikes when Wendy was like, because you don't have any accomplishments. I was more like, ooh, that was a hit for me. That was a punch versus the whole Social Security line. I mean, it was a good comeback. But to say someone has no accomplishments and their response is to be like, oh, at least I have one Social Security. Girl, what are the accomplishments? The accomplishments are still in question. They still are in question. They're still in question. But that was the first part. I think it was a very solid first part reunion. We got a little bit of everything and I was here for it. And yeah, it was a really good first part. The second part will be airing Sunday, and I'll be recapping it the next Toxic Tuesday. Let's get a little bit into Married to Medicine, and then we're going to wrap it up. It is President's Day, but it's not my president, so I'm still working. Okay, I logged on for some OT. I got things to do. I appreciate a day off, but it ain't my president. Quad and King. So a couple of episodes back, I was like, I think King is just like frustrated with the whole IVF process, but it's become so clear this man is so over Quad. And I think Quad's kind of over it. And I think it's a blessing that Quad did not get pregnant with him, because King's total disrespect and just like he's like very dismissive of Quad. He's very rude. They're eating. He's like, okay, I'm almost done with my fish. Get to the good part. Like, he's just very dismissive, but it's like he low-key wants the tea. But then it's like he acts like he doesn't want the tea. He's very dismissive of Quad. And I think it's a blessing that she didn't get pregnant by him and the eggs didn't take. It's very upsetting to see Quad kind of break down because Jackie and them did tell her. Jackie and Simone did tell her you need to freeze your eggs when she should have, and now she cannot get pregnant. It is very sad, but I do think it'll work out in its own. I hope she can get pregnant, but it's a blessing that she didn't get pregnant with King because his total lack of, like, he's very disrespectful and now he doesn't even care about showing it on camera. Like, you can tell he's just over the relationship. She's over it. I think he could also be over like the hormones and stuff. Definitely. It's very interesting. Obviously, we know they aren't together because he said he quote unquote left that situation, whereas she left a very good amicable message about her breakup with Kirk because that is his real name, not King. And yeah, it's going to be weird next season because the women are definitely going to come for her about that breakup, especially knowing that Toya used him to get her son a Ferrari for his 16th birthday. Was it a Ferrari? It was a very extravagant car. I don't know why she would get him an extravagant car for his first car. So Toya is now in the hosting light of the the Med Gala. And now she is seeing that the 2,500 was actually important for all the women to chip into. And that's why people like Toya, they just really have to learn on their own. There's no telling them anything. She's been so cheap with her contributions to the Med Gala in the past, and now she is seeking the same amount that they were seeking from her. And it's just going to be funny to watch play out because she did not donate money over the years. She donated wine cases, and it's like, where's your wine even being sold? I'm sure you have a bunch of wine cases to give out to people because your wine's not being sold anywhere. It's just interesting to me how now she's like, yeah, so if you guys can contribute 2,500, but then you made a website without everyone's faces, but you're asking for their money. So Toya's getting hers. She's getting her experience. And I think Quad's even like, or maybe we don't have to. Maybe you can just foot the bill because we've been giving that every year and then you've been totally disregarding it. So it is kind of like a funny lesson coming around. And obviously, Dr. Heavenly disclosed that Jackie apparently was telling her that Toya is super unprofessional and disrespectful to work with. And I think that came from because Toya said she was just cussing somebody out. And then Jackie was like, well, why are we doing that if they're trying to help us with the Met Gala? Like, you can just tell there's going to be something in regards to this Met Gala that is clearly just growing more and more as the seasons go on because it's become such a big thing. But I do think which is really funny, that I'm going to log off. I think it's really hilarious how Jackie all of a sudden has scrubs because I'm like, we just saw Angels launch a scrubs. And I'm like, since when has Dr. Jackie had scrubs? Since when? But the girls, they wrapped up their trip in Florida. I don't know. I can't remember where they were. They're in the middle somewhere. You know, Florida got those places. You can be in an island on Florida. You could be anywhere in Florida. You just be everywhere. They wrapped up their trip. And yeah, the next episode looks good. I've been enjoying Married to Medicine, but I really wanted to talk about Potomac today, the Valley. And like I said, I talked a little bit about Summer House. But yes, there will be an episode this Friday for America's Next Top Model. What's the reality? On with the reality. It's going to be part 1 coming out this Friday. So make sure you tune in. And I will see you guys next Toxic Tuesday. But until then, I'll see you next time.